Welcome to Beyond the Tape, a podcast that focuses on people doing rad things in the Australian mountain bike industry, whether that's riders, people media, brand managers, shop owners, athletes, anyone. On this episode, we are chatting with a young and up-and-coming racer. But before we move into that, let's talk about some supporters of the podcast that help keep this thing going. Trek Bikes have been making bikes since 1976, and they have been pushing their limits with technology and how they can make bikes work the best ever since. With a mantra of ride bikes, have fun, and feel good, you know that you're going to have a great time whenever you're on these bikes. I was lucky enough to hang out with the guys from Trek, Mike Ross, Harriet Burbridge, and Carolyn Buchanan at Highland over the weekend, and man, those guys definitely live that mantra to the best. Stoked to have them on board, and with those guys, we're going to be able to grow this podcast and go bigger. Tailored Trails are Tassie specialists for statewide transfers, private group shuttles, all-inclusive packages. Operating on all major mountain bike networks in Tasmania, including Derby, Maydena, St. Helens, and the West Coast. They offer a private group shuttle that caters for groups of up to 18 people with their own custom-built shuttle trailers and racks. Take the hassle out of your next trip, book with Tailored Trails, and just go ride and have fun in Tassie. FE Sports are amongst the leading industry experts when it comes to sporting products and imports, distribution, wholesale, customer service in Australia and New Zealand. I have been running the Galfa pads in my Maguras lately, and man, they are so good. No bedding in required. They're just snappy right off the bat. I can't say enough. And it looks like Nico Malali's been using some of the Galfa stuff on his new rig as well. They're going to be good, right? NS Dynamics are Australia's premium service centre when it comes to your suspension. These guys have been doing it for over 20 years, and they make your suspension feel better than new. Every time I get my suspension back from these guys, I can't believe how flat the ground feels. They just soak up everything. I don't know what they do up there, but they make your suspension feel so damn good. Frank's Mountain Bike Apparel is a premium mountain bike apparel company based in WA. I am absolutely in love with their pants. Super flexible, even for my chicken drumsticks. Super flexible, super comfortable, breathable. They're just some of the best pants I've ever worn. Dirt Surfer mud guards are 100% recycled material and 100% recyclable mudguards. They offer you unique designs, or you can get even your own designs made on them for events, for your shop. Don't know if you want your dog's face on them, you could chuck it on there. They offer a unique opportunity to have some custom mudguards on your bike, and if not, just check out their range of their own home brand unique designs. Matt from Crush is absolutely killing it. He just brought out his new wet lube. If their other products are anything to go by, then that thing is going to keep your chain spinning better than ever. Fist Handwear, man, as I always say, there's not much I need to say. They're the best gloves ever. Chapter 18 dropping soon. I can't wait to see what crazy designs they've come up with. Anyway, let's move on to our guest, Ryan Gilchrist. He's a young 18 or 19-year-old up-and-comer. Been in BMX for a while, found XC racing, and is now an Enduro Lord, coming second in Enduro Jam down in Maydena. He's absolutely killing it. So have a good listen. We have a chat about kind of marketing yourself, getting sponsors, and different avenues you can kind of expand yourself into the mountain bike industry. As usual, grab beer, grab water, grab a wine, grab whatever makes you happy, and enjoy the podcast.
Yeah, let's go.
Sick. Well, Ryan Gilchrist, welcome to the poddy. Glad to have you on.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute honor.
Wouldn't go that far.
Oh, look, I've been listening. I'm actually pretty new to the podcast, I must say. I'm not going to say I'm a long time listener. I'm just getting into it, and I've just started going back through them over and over and binge listening to them in the car. So I'm absolutely loving it.
it's crazy. Like I see waves of that happening.
Yeah.
On like the stats and stuff, you'll see waves of every podcast just go up and then it'll plateau and then it will just go up. It's weird.
Mm.
So I kind of want to kick off with where you started mountain biking, because it only seems like in the last 2 or 3 years you really got into it.
Yeah.
Am I kind of right in saying that?
No, I've been riding since like day dot, really. So my first real experience with racing was cross country. So Dad's an absolute gun cross country racer. Like he does a lot of like long distance stuff. So the natural progression was to start racing local club in Coffs Harbour, and we raced for a few years, but we soon realised that kind of like the climate for young XC races, it wasn't all that good. Like it wasn't very supportive. There wasn't a great, junior grassroots program. And we were basically told, come back when you're 16, 17. So that's exactly what we did. We picked up and I still kept on riding mountain bikes, but I had a switch to BMX when I was 10 years old. So I raced BMX from when I was 10 to when I was 16. And I attribute all of my, bike handling skills to that. Like BMX was just so good for me there. I really, really loved that. And then 16 came back to enduro and, actually came back to mountain biking and then, picked up enduro because I loved riding downhills, but I also had that XC fitness from a long time ago. So it kind of clicked and it worked nicely. So I'm absolutely loving it.
That's an odd thing to be kind of told, hey, like come back later when you've grown up a little bit. Like,
oh yeah, it really hurt because like dad was like, we were really like loving it. We were really loving the XC racing. Our club was going so well, but we'd end up doing like, I think we had this category called like whippersnappers or like dirt masters or something. And it was just an absolute joke. Like they just had you riding around in the car park. And we're at an age where like we're still super young, but we're still like faster than half of the field. So it just felt ridiculous that we had to be riding around the car park. And there was all this crazy stuff about getting like special dispensation to do extra laps and having to ride with a carer or something. And I think there was actually a meet because dad was like, he hosted some of the meetings at our house. And we actually like the words we heard was come back when you're 16. So that was a real kick in the guts. And I think that BMX was just so much better because like it's just so kid focused. Like the average age there's like 10. It's incredible.
It's definitely got better junior development for sure. But I think like, I don't know if you saw this, but the burnout rate seems higher in BMX.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. You do have a lot of like, oh no, I'm not going to blame it on the power parents. But you do, it is like a serious like kid culture. Like you go there and you got the sprocket category, which is under 8. So you got kids riding at 3 years old and 4 years old on those little striders and stuff. But I wouldn't so much call it burnout because a lot of this time it's kids that were like doing it for fun and then they've moved on to something new. Like I wouldn't say that what me changing from BMX to mountain biking was burnout. It was just me like, moving to the next thing because the BMX sort of funnel into elite is super aggressive because you're 16 and then the next step is you either race pro, which is you're racing on an 8 meter with just like adults, or you race 17 to 24, which I wasn't too keen on. I wasn't really too keen on either because I'm going to die in pro. And I still want to race.
Yeah, 17 to 24 is a huge gap. Like, that's huge.
Yeah, and it was a tough category to like the elite category was ridiculous, but the 17 to 24 category it was kind of like, it's kind of like the equivalent of like expert in mountain biking. So if you're not racing pro, you race 17 to 24.
You got all these guys that could probably, like a 24-year-old versing a 17-year-old's not that fair for most people.
It's ridiculous.
So the win seems pretty easy there. So they're the guys that might come top 20 elite, but will win that 24, so they go on race the 24.
Yeah, a bit of sandbagging going on.
Well, you got to be one of the only people to go from XC to BMX, though. Like, I can't think of too many people that have done that transition.
Yeah, that is a pretty interesting path, isn't it? Because like it doesn't really have a whole lot in common. But like when I say I was racing XC, like you paint an image in your mind of XC as just like, you know, brute power, grunt force and stuff. But I was like racing XC because it was fun. Like it was the most accessible discipline of mountain biking at the time. Like downhill locally was happening, but it just felt so far away because it was just like real dangerous and scary and stuff like that. So yeah, we and it was also like a lot of skill stuff, you know, like playing around in the car park and riding skinnies and stuff like that. And I guess because dad was very you know, in the XC groove of things, it was just kind of perfect to start with that.
I think XC is very underrated in the amount of skills you can learn from it, because you're literally dialing in a line for a whole lap on a bike that's not built to go down, and then you're riding. Yeah, your line choice gets better, your technical ability gets better, and you're getting fitter. Like, it's a very underrated discipline of that sport.
For sure. Yeah, no, there's some of the stuff on XC tracks, you know, it's scary to think riding down it on an enduro bike, let alone on a, you know, well, they're riding hardtails, and until recently it was without a dropper post. So no, I have a huge amount of respect for XC riders, and after spending a lot of time riding with XC riders, you really do realize that, yeah, it's a pretty skill dominated thing. And also, like, when they're going down hills, they're just absolutely gassed. So they're going down hills while they're like hitting the red zone. Like the idea of that terrifies me. Like getting to the top of a hill, you're dropping into, like, you know, imagine you drop into cannonball downhill after sprinting up the hill. Like, it's just deadly.
I wouldn't happen. I'd be dead by the time I got to the top. It's not a thing I'm going to have to deal with. Yeah, I remember at Nationals, even just that drop they had by the car park there, that little 3-footer thing, and kids were riding off it with their droppers up, and everyone's just like, how? Like, what is this?
Yeah, I think we get a little bit spoiled with our 160 mil high pivot dream rigs that you realize that, like, I didn't have a, because like when I say I was racing BMX, I was still riding mountain bikes all throughout. I got my first dual suspension bike when I was like 15, 16. So pretty late on, and up until that point, I was riding, like, you know, hand-me-downs from my brother, like hardtail XC bikes. So you see some of the bikes that are like appearing, and like isn't there like a new sort of genre of bikes of like these kids riding insane like dual suspension bikes at like 10 years old? It's so sick.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at Frenchie's young son. He's like 5 or 6, and he's on a full dual suspension Commentaar with next level everything on it. Like, the bikes you get now are so good. And I remember racing on a dirt jumper because that was the best bike to commute to school on, go to the skate park and race downhill on. Like that's what I had.
That's awesome.
Was your brother racing and stuff, or was it like riding?
Yeah, no,
so a whole family thing?
Yeah, whole family thing. So my brother is 2 years older than me. Raced XC with him, and he also made the switch to BMX with me. Yeah, like I said, dad's I think he's very, very strong, and mum rides as well. So it's so good having a whole family, because like you go on the weekends, what are we going to do? We all go out to the tracks and ride together. We may not actually ride together, but we're all out there doing the same thing. And I think that's just the ultimate environment to grow up in. It's just such a, like, pillars of support absolutely everywhere. And, you know, like having an older brother especially is so good for, you know, looking up to and competing against, and you're constantly like racing against them. So it couldn't have been much better.
It'd be your main competition, right? Like, you could win
Yeah.
nationals, but as long as you beat your brother, that's bigger.
Yeah, that was the big deal. You got to beat Drew. No, it was, but he always like such a good sport. Like, just such a great person to race with. Because like I did start getting like there were times when I beat him and he was all good with it. He was just like super stoked for me. Like he didn't have any sort of ego about it. He was just like incredibly stoked for me. And I think that's having people like that to grow up with is just, it's incredible.
I think that's a big thing of the sport overall, right? Like even your mates and stuff, if they beat you, you're stoked for them. If you beat them, they're stoked for you. It's like a whole part of the mountain bike community.
For sure.
So when did you start looking at the whole downhill discipline and enduro and everything like that?
So when did I discover gravity?
Yeah.
So basically, as I was coming out of BMX at age 16, like I said, I'd been riding the whole time, and it had slowly started morphing from XC into enduro, but I didn't quite know it yet. So I was implementing those BMX skills, so like pumping, manualing, jumping, doing all that stuff with all of the foundation XC skills of like cornering, sprinting, and it all just kind of like, I just started loving going downhill a lot, but it was perfect because I still had, the fitness to ride up the hill, and I still enjoy riding up hills. So, basically at 16, it was like, this is just the perfect discipline. I did my first enduro race and I just absolutely loved it. I think my first ever enduro race was it was a clubby in Kempsey, which is like an hour south of where I live, and it was just like classic clubby, just shambolic. It was timed with like 2 stopwatches and a radio, like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was good times. Nobody's time worked. Everybody had an awesome time. Heaps of people got lost. Like it was truly like the whole thing of enduro is, ride up the hill with your mates and race back down. Like I don't even worry about the timing. Like it just did not work, but I loved it.
It's like secondary, right? I remember one race, like me and a mate, we were out all day and we were following each other all day, and I can't, like, he'd crash, I'd overtake him, and then I got so stoked that it overtook him that I crashed and he'd overtake me. It was like us just swap offs the whole day, and we didn't care about the time at the end of the day. It was just such a good outing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I think being able to ride and do events like that and not have to worry about, oh, this is a race, this is a big deal, this is a race. Like, I think that's really, really part of what keeps me engaged in the sport so much.
Was it was being able to ride your bike all day a pretty big bonus as well? Like, you're not, I guess,
100%. Yeah,
because in BMX it's heats and stuff, right? So I'm guessing there's a fair bit of time sitting around.
Yeah, the FAP is pretty real at a BMX event. Some of them are pushed along quicker than others, but I remember days where you're just sitting in the sun all day. I think if you're lucky, you do 3 motos, and then depending on how many people are there, you'll do like quarters, semis, finals. And if it's like a really big day, you'll do 8s, quarters, semi-final. But it's just such little actual action time. And like I've started doing a couple more downhill races, but I still prefer enduro just because like you're doing something for, like, how many hours are you out doing an enduro? Like 4, 6? Like it's just so much time just actually doing stuff. You're not messing around waiting for, other people to do their thing. But I still love doing, BMX and downhill and stuff. It's a different sort of vibe, but I reckon, being able to ride all day is absolutely huge.
When did you kind of realize that you were pretty good at it? Like, was there a point where you're just like, I might actually be okay at this?
Well, I mean, it was a few enduro races in. We went to Garapine. Does that name ring a bell to you at all up in Queensland?
Not at all. No.
So so Garapine is like up near Gympie.
Okay.
It's such a strange event, such a strange event for me to first go to because it's so far out of the way. But we went up to Garapine, and it's like if you ever in Queensland and you see a race at Garapine, go to it because it's such a sick vibe. So I was racing with a whole bunch of the Queensland crew, so a lot of names that are actually still racing now. So I was racing against Lee Wiseman, Jacob Barton was there, Alex Shadbolts, all the boys were amongst it. I was on a 120 mil. It was a Merida 120, such a sick bike, and yeah, it was a great event. It's like I think they claimed that they were the first ever enduro in Australia or something. So like the tracks are like not insane, but they've still got a bit of tech on them. So yeah, I had an awesome day, took a win in under 17s, and at that point I was like, this is just the best thing ever because I had so much fun doing it. I realized that there's all these kids that are doing the exact same thing as me, and they're like really fun people to be around. And a bunch of those people are still my friends today. So it was awesome. That was the time when I realized that I enjoy the sport.
Yeah, that's sick. And what year was that again?
Oh goodness, so I was 16 years old. So I would have been 20. No, it was younger than that. It was younger than that. So maybe 2017.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I see, I'm just having a look at your results, but you came down to
the timeline.
Yeah, just saw that you came down to Fox Creek here in SA in
oh yes
2018.
Yeah, so that actually might have been the same year. But actually it might have been a bit of a gap because we started looking at because BMX you travel so much, you go so many different places, and there's like a state series like every second weekend. So we were like quite accustomed to the traveling different places. But we heard Nationals was on, and we'd heard a little bit about how sick Fox Creek was. And I had recently started a gig with a local bike shop, Vento Cycles. Shout out to Al and Riley from Vento Cycles, the boys. And they sorted me out with this, my first proper enduro bike. So I went from a Merida 120 to it was an Intense Recluse. So phenomenal bike. Like it was actually, I walked into the shop and they were like trying to sort out a bike for me. And Al, the shop owner, was like, I don't ride this thing much. You take it. So I was riding his bike. So just absolute mad dogs. It was like a huge, huge thing. So I cruised up to Fox Creek, and yeah, Fox Creek was sick. I absolutely loved it. I got a P2 behind Luke Meyer-Smith. And that was like introducing me to a whole different group of mountain bike riders. So the Queensland boys I already knew, and then met up with, I already knew Luke from BMX. But yeah, like all the other boys, it was just a great vibe.
Yeah, I was looking, and you would have been top 15 in Elite Men. You would have come 11th, and there was some big names there. So that's pretty crazy that you come from, like, you're accelerated up the standings so fast. Was that kind of a surprise, or?
Oh, look, I was pretty pumped when I saw like how I went in Elite. Like for the first while after I'd finished the race, all I was really concerned about was that Luke put 20 seconds into me. I was like, oh my goodness, that was ridiculous. But no, Luke is just an absolute demon. But then I saw the standings and saw the names I was around, because like I'd started to familiarize myself. Like I knew who Connor Fearon was, and I knew who Sam Welsh was, and seeing that like stage by stage and over the whole thing, I was like doing decent times, was like I really loved seeing that. It was really cool.
Yeah, that Connor guy's pretty quick.
Yeah, he does ride a bike pretty well. Yeah.
It's definitely not his first time riding Fox either, so he didn't have a home ground advantage.
Not at all.
Where did you kind of go from there? Were you started to kind of chase the competition a little bit more, or were you still just stoked to be riding your bike?
I was still stoked to be riding my bike. So I was, yeah, from there it was, I was still in school doing probably in year 10 then. Yeah, so I didn't actually go crazy on like taking it all that seriously. Like I was cruising around to races. I was super into like making videos and stuff around about then. So it was all like, it kind of went hand in hand. It's like riding bikes and making videos. And it was mainly just facilitated by mum and dad. Like they'd say, "Oh, there's a race here." I go, "Absolutely, I want to go to it." So the SEQ Enduro series was the probably the primary series. Like New South Wales was not a huge amount going on. Recently, Rocky Trail's been doing some awesome stuff, but SEQ Enduro was I'd traveled to the whole series and did that. So like racing, Nerang, Tamarookum, did one at Joyce, and yeah, Garapine, of course. So yeah, that was just chasing that and doing races and staying stoked on it.
What kind of filming were you doing? Was it like just little edits and stuff with your mates? And what kind of attracted you to that? Like,
yeah, for sure. Like I'd been all through while I was making BMX, I was just loving making videos. I had like a little YouTube channel where I'd post all these silly videos, and I'd do Friday night racing, and I'd like do a POV of all of my races and post it up on YouTube. And like I just was grinding at it so hard. Like I just loved making videos, and I still do now. But yeah, I just started getting a little bit better at using the equipment and editing and all the process of making the videos, and it's just kind of scaled up, escalated. I've actually got my own little videography business where I'm got a couple local clients, and that I think is absolutely huge for like content creation in the mountain bike industry. And even if I'm not actually creating the content itself, it's being able to like have the mind to like scale and market yourself with respects to brands and stuff like that. So it really did sort of like spiral into control, I guess, as I got into more racing.
That's a younger perspective, I guess, of the sport, which I haven't really heard. And I don't know how many people say they market and, present themselves to a brand correctly. Like it's not a bad thing. Everyone's just based on their results, but you're taking it to that next level with media.
Yeah, well, I mean, my thing is ride bikes, make videos. Like I'm never going to stop making videos. Like I just love whole creative process. I know that for a lot of people, the creative process element that they hate the most is editing, but editing's my absolute favorite. Like taking all of the clips and just like, because the raw clips on their own, especially when I film them, there's not a huge amount going on, and you kind of like put it all together and make it into a story and actually create something beautiful, or at least I reckon it looks cool. So I think that having those two things go hand in hand, and being able to go up to a company and say, look, I'll do my best to get you onto a podium, but at the same time I'll be making all these photos and videos and really sort of attaching a sort of image to the brand, and that's what I've been trying to do that recently, and it's been really, really beneficial.
I think athletes treating themselves as a brand is a great way to put it, because you're trying to sell yourself in a way. I guess, where did the passion for video come from? Did you just kind of pick up a camera one day and grab something?
It's tough. Where it actually started, like the first actual memory I have of using any kind of software, because the funny thing is the editing came before the video.
All right.
So I was in year 6 and we had an assignment to do where we had to make a movie, and it was something to do with like recycling or something like that. And we basically like filmed all these clips and drew some photos and stuff and put it together in Windows Movie Maker. And I don't know, I just absolutely loved editing stuff and making stuff. So I kind of let BMX be the outlet for just like create any content, like any sort of video. Like, it wasn't content then, it was just me mucking around with whatever camera I had. It was like a knockoff GoPro that I had. And my YouTube channel, there is some serious cringe going on in the depths of that I've made it unlisted. I've made it unlisted now. So if you're going on YouTube now to look for the cringe, then you're probably not going to see it. But it was just, yeah, you could really bring that up. It's like stuff for the 21st. But and also like having a bunch of friends at the BMX club that were, you know, willing to hold the camera and willing to be filmed and sort of let me kind of experiment on them and, you know, make all of this. Some of it was garbage, some of it was gold, and kind of whittle the process down to something that's a little bit more refined and polished.
Yeah, that's so rad. You seem to do everything backwards. Like, I know everyone else buys a camera and starts to take stuff first. And you're editing.
Yeah. No, it's like really strange because like I try and develop all these processes and stuff and get the amount of viruses I probably put on mom's computer downloading software illegally and stuff like
LimeWire back in the day.
Oh,
for us.
Oh, and downloading music for edits. Oh my goodness. Like MP3 Skull and all of these just like super shady sites. Like, oh man, no, I love it. It's such a cool story. And even to this day, I can, in my creative process, I can tell that I am, well, I won't say better, but I'm more inclined to editing than filming because when I'm filming because I'm filming with the foresight that I know that I can make this look better in post. So like if a different editor was to take my clips, they'd go like, what, how am I going to do anything with this? It just sucks.
Yeah.
But I have that sort of vision in mind while I'm filming. So you're right. Like I've never actually thought about it like that. It's so backwards.
It works. Like, I think it's important for the storytelling part for sure. Like, you can't just go point a camera at everything and just hope that something happens. Like, if you can have that storyline and how you want to edit it and start from the base first, it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
What is like, I guess, do you think it's a burden or it seems harder for athletes these days because they have to create so much content? Obviously you enjoy it, but if you've got that mandate or a partner contract or something like that and you don't enjoy it, do you think that's going to be a bit harder for some people?
For sure, yeah. Well, if you don't love what you're doing, it's going to be hard. If you hate your job, it's not going to be all that easy for you. But I think like when you're like negotiating a contract and stuff, like pretty important not to put anything in it you don't want to do. So like if you like promise the world that you're going to do all these photos and videos and stuff, but you know that you're going to hate it, you're just setting yourself up to shoot yourself in the foot. Like it's not a really good plan. But I think that like the people that I work with are really sort of understanding of what I do, and the people that I've been with for a bit longer, they don't really give me, you know, concrete constraints for what I need to create because they have the confidence in me that I'm going to have the initiative to go out there and make stuff and create content that, you know, shows their brand in a positive light. So I know that like for big gigs and stuff, it has to be concrete, but for some of the smaller gigs I'm with, it's just that kind of trust that I have like my heart and soul in making videos, so they know that it's going to be my best effort. Whether it's the best thing ever for their company is to be determined. But so long as I'm putting in my best effort, then I can't really make them any happier.
I think it's such a bonus. Hey, like you think about it, how many people were watching Podium at Nationals? It might be 200, 300, whereas like a YouTube video or an Instagram post, you're reaching thousands. Like it just makes so much sense.
For sure. And yeah, you go.
No, you go, man. It's all good.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, like it's if you're like absolute killer rider, and like if you're Troy and you stand on every podium you ever race for, then that's your gig right there. And I mean, of course, he piles on content as well, and he's just an absolute proto athlete. But like, to be completely realistic, I think that my value doesn't stop at my ability to get on podiums. Even if I was like Troy, which I'm absolutely not, I still think that I would want to be, creating stuff. Like, it's not a chore for me. I really do love it. And I think that's the important part of it.
The best content Troy puts out, it's got Aaron Peltari in it anyway. So
Yeah,
he's the real star of that show.
Oh, he absolutely is. I met him for the first time in Maydena, and I didn't really even properly meet him. I just said, hey. And like, it was a real, I can't believe we're like going over people's mechanics. It's so sick. That guy's a legend.
Yeah, he's funny. It's so weird. I actually worked with him for a while, so it's so weird to see people fanboy. Like, it's just
really? What'd you do with him?
We worked at the same shop together for a bit.
Oh, so, really? Yeah. Wow.
It's kind of funny.
Right.
So it's just like normal, and then to see people fanboying and doing stuff around him, it's just so good. But he's the kindest person in the world, for sure.
Yeah. Wow.
How did you go about getting sponsors? Like, was it something you wanted to have? Was it a goal, or and how did you end up getting them?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, because I've always well, I mean, like, I love making these videos, and I can see that there's potential to basically get some stuff to make my writing more easy, and eventually like make it so that less money has to be spent. Because like, especially at the start, it was mum and dad's money, and I wanted to contribute as much as I could. So my first sponsor, of course, was the bike shop, so the boys at Vento.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the strangest agreement. It was literally, he was just like, he didn't even give me a jersey. He was just like, literally, do what you're doing. And I'd say majority of that's because Al's a really nice guy, and it was a little bit of charity, and he wanted to, see me ride bikes fast and on his bike. So I think as far as like return on investment there, he was happy to let it slide. But then moving on to other sponsorships, I did a fair bit of work with Link Sports, so a distributor in Sydney. Mm-hmm. And basically the first sponsor that I actually chased down was a tire sponsor, because I was like spending $90 on a tire every time I busted one, and that was killing me. So I can't do that feeling. Yeah. Oh, especially with the scarcity at the moment, it's like gold. Yeah. So I composed an email. Talk a bit more about emails later, but I composed an email to Link Sports, and it was not so much of a sponsorship, but it was kind of like a brand deal, was kind of how it was established, was that they said that they'll give me, I think it was 4 tires in exchange for a video. And he had absolutely no guarantee that it was going to pay off. Like, he'd seen some of my videos before, but I pulled out the stops. Like, I went to the best, secret track in town, had all this gear, got out the gimbal. Dad was rocking the camera. I had all this like directive vision, and it was actually coming back just after I'd broken my collarbone. So I was like so fired up to make the sickest video ever. And I made the video, and I mean, I'm pretty sure they were pretty stoked with it. So I made this video, sent it off to them, and that was the agreement sealed off. That was job done. And basically I was like, well, that was sick. Let's do more. Like, I absolutely loved every second of that. And I got a feeling they kind of enjoyed it as well. So yeah, Link Sports, I'm still doing work with Link Sports. It started out with the tires, and now I'm doing work with Link Sports and Spank.
Yeah, cool.
So part of my yearly agreement was, make X amount of videos. And now it's kind of, we're about to like renegotiate with Europe and stuff. So it's really cool to see how it started off like that. And even if it's like not a sponsor going on the jersey, it's like a brand deal where I'm kind of leveraging my ability to make videos with my ability to ride a bike, smash it all together, send it to them on a Google Drive. And then it's kind of like a contra deal for them more than anything. So no money, just product. And that was just the best way to build it up.
Yeah, I think that's pretty bang on the way to do it. Is you have to show what you're offering them as much as what you want from them. And that's pretty crazy that you're, 16, 17, maybe 18 at the time, and you're going through and doing that. Like, not many kids are doing that these days. Were you ever reaching?
There you go.
No, go ahead.
Well, it was really cool, just like having that sort of creative outlet, and having that creative outlet kind of yield something tangible that could help me ride my bike better. That was like a snowball moment, and I realized that, look, this passion of mine, this making videos and stuff, it's got so much more potential in it, and I can really sort of leverage it. And even nowadays, I don't really make videos as much like that anymore, but it's the way it's kind of translated into that mindset where like content is a way of creating a return on investment for the sponsor. And instead of just seeing it as like, oh, they've asked me to take an Instagram post of this, like really sort of like actually put effort into it, because I know what they want, and I know that I have the facilities to do it. So doing anything less than my absolute best just doesn't feel right.
I think that's like a big thing as well, is the amount of investment you put in the content you're putting out. Like, if you're going to do it, try and do it right and do something unique and interesting instead of, I can't remember what it was. I think it was like started COVID, when every monster athlete put a random photo of a monster can up on their Instagram, and it just shitted me. Like, it was the weirdest. It's like just a monster can on the ground or something weird like that. And I remember seeing like big athletes do it. I'm like, this is so weird. Like, I don't get it.
You've got all this time for a creative outlet, and you take a picture of a can in the ground.
I know. But then on the flip side, there was Troy Lee Designs helmet campaign where you could wear it anywhere, and there was some good stuff with that. Like,
that was pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, Troy and Sean and a few others had some funny things. Like, it was really good.
There was like Sean wearing the helmet in the shower and stuff like that. And yeah, that was sick. I like that. Now, a lot of good stuff did come out of COVID. I remember like all of the videos. My favorite YouTube channel ever is IFHT. Those boys over in BC, who are actually pretty big role models of mine, just as far as like integrating content creation and mountain bike riding. Because those guys are like, I reckon primarily they're like an absolutely top-notch film, like directive company. And they just happen to be absolute killer bike riders. So they've just smushed the two together. And yeah, now they've turned their little YouTube channel, and they made like the Trek Super Caliber release video with Yolanda Neff. Like, does it get any bigger than that? And they're also scaled out. They've done like car commercials and stuff like that. So the guys are killing it. So if they can do it, I reckon I can try and do stuff like that. And maybe instead of leaning so far towards that, lean a little bit closer to racing bikes.
Dude, one day I hope I can just shoot a blog with a red camera, like IFHD.
Yeah.
I just like some of this, like they just put up a video of them like going to an island or something, and they're riding around with a red camera in their back.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, that's got to be so hard and so heavy.
Their gear bag that they just take on regular rides, like they'll go to Whistler opening weekend and they'll make a vlog, and they'll bring like a cine slider and a red camera to get their B-roll. Like it's just mental that even crosses your mind. And I mean that's why they're killing it, because they take that extra step and that initiative.
And it literally started with a dad cam and the
Yeah.
pan and zoom. Like it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like they don't hold back their personality and their stupidity in their films, which makes it quite entertaining. Like the amount of films I watch and they're just so pro and scripted, and you're just like, I can't deal with this. Whereas those unscripted funny things are so good.
Yeah. No, they're top notch. I love it. It's really good.
This day and age, like with the digital interruption and everything with communication, like it's so easy to flick out an Instagram message to go, hey, can you sponsor me? How many sponsorships have you got from like reaching out via Instagram, or do you prefer to kind of meet up with people, or how's it kind of work that way?
The craziest thing is that a lot of them, I refuse to reach out on Instagram. I think that's just so unprofessional. I do think that's a pretty old view as well, though, because look, if I was running a company, I'd be more than happy to field requests on Instagram, but I always try and get an email address, because I know that in an office, if somebody's actually taking something seriously, it's going to be an email. It's not going to be it's not going to be an Instagram message, and then go the next step and organize a time to have a Zoom call or a phone call or something like that. But funny you should say that. I've had, I reckon, a bunch of my current sponsors reached out to me on Instagram. Like I was, funnily enough, like the prime time for when people reach out to me is after I do a bike check. So I do a bike check, and then they realize that something's missing, and I get a message, and it's so cool to see that correlation. Like my current gig I have with Pirelli, they reached out to me on Instagram, and it was incredible because I had just published a bike check video where I was like deliberately leaving out tires because I was keen to sort out a new gig. And then like clockwork, within 2 days, I got a message from Pirelli, like with FE Australia, and I'm still with Pirelli. So no, like you're right. It is very, very easy to capture someone's attention like that, because everybody's got a phone in their pocket. And I reckon it is tough to reach out to a brand, because look, a brand's Instagram has got like thousands of followers and stuff. And if every kid's messaging it, you're not really gonna stand out. So if you can find a way of getting email addresses, I don't know if I should say this hack. It might get a bunch of people mad. I'll just say LinkedIn. That's all I have to say. LinkedIn helps a lot.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. But there's also like a professional way to do it as well, I think. Like I've seen some that come through to brand managers and stuff, and it's next level. Like if you take the time, no matter how you communicate, it's going to come back in a good way.
Yeah, thanks. That's good. Just really quickly, could we just take a break? I need to plug in my computer. It's going to go flat.
For sure. It's all good.
Yeah. Sorry if that interrupts things. I just need to make sure I don't go flat on you. I'll be back in a moment.
All good.
Plug in my computer. It's going flat. And absolute rook. This is so unprofessional.
No, unprofessional is being Baxter and then just letting it go flat.
just let it go flat. Oh, imagine you're hitting up like a mad conversation and then it's just over. Okay, we're plugged in. We're back up and running.
Are you in Canberra at the moment? Did you move up there?
Yeah. I've been living in Canberra since August. kind of the perfect place to be. Got a lot going for it, so I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna be after the next few races, I'll be heading back to Cops for a bit. I miss mum and dad. I miss Cops. I'm keen to go back.
It's good to get home for sure. Every now and then. Yeah. It's funny, like you say, that Canberra's got a lot going for it, because 3 or 4 years ago, probably wouldn't have said that. But lately, it seems like the riding scene and everything is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's a lot of people my age, because I went straight from school, and the topic of discussion was uni, and they're all like, where do we want to go? We want to go to Newcastle. We want to go to Gold Coast. We want to go to Sydney. And like, I'm just thinking, like, I could not imagine anything worse than living, in the guts of Sydney. I mean, there's riding everywhere, right? But I don't really want to be surrounded by, skyscrapers everywhere I go. And the kind of general consensus was that, Canberra sucks. There's nothing going on. It's just like grey public servant land. But like, I think that's the people that say that you can go wherever you want. I'm happy here.
It's better if you're not here.
Yeah, we'll keep it to ourselves.
Yeah, but you got sick bike shops up there with Missing Link, and then Ryan Fixes.
Fixed by Ryan, yeah.
Fixed by Ryan, yeah. So Instagram handle. And then Good Riding, and then you got Sean, Kai, that Timmy Eaton guy.
The whole crew.
Like it's
that Timmy Eaton guy.
Yeah. And it just seems to be going off. It's sick. Yeah.
No, it's a really good place to be. And also first and foremost, like, really incredible people live here. But also I've been doing a bit of work with Iconic Trails, Gareth with Iconic Trails.
Oh yeah. Cool.
So whenever I get a sec building tracks, he's just the best boss you could ever ask for. Like, imagine your boss being the guy that hosted the first ever Pump Track World Championships. Like, just an absolute mad dog. So if you don't know Gareth Payton, go follow Iconic Trails on Instagram. He's a mad dog.
Yeah, he's built some really cool stuff.
Sure.
So you mentioned you're at uni. Are you like second year, first year?
No, I'm first year. Yeah. So I actually started uni 3 weeks ago. So I was in Maydena doing, I think I was catching the boat back when I had my first lecture. So I'm on the boat. No, I'm in the lineup for the boat. I'm on boat Wi-Fi, and I'm chiming into this Zoom lecture, and like, it was just so unbelievably stressful, because some elements of it I'm able to attend online, and some elements I have to be in person. So I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like, I'm not going to be back for my first workshop. I'm not going to be there. So I'm like doing all this stressing and planning and catch ups and stuff like that. And then I get back here and realize that the workshops don't start until next week. So it was just like all of this, all this commotion while I'm in Maydena. Like, I was doing nationals and I was thinking about when I'm going to get to this lecture. So, no, it's been mental, and so good to get back into, like, I sound like I am a nerd. I'm such a nerd with this kind of stuff. Like, I love school. So it's good to get back to it. I feel like I've been a little bit brain dead for the last year. So I've started my Bachelor of Engineering, doing it part-time, and the maths is really starting to come back to me. I'm absolutely loving it.
Is it hard juggling wanting? So did you take a gap year? Is that what I'm kind of picking up?
Took a gap year, yeah.
Well, what a year to take a gap year. Like,
yeah, it was. Oh yeah, you know how everyone travels over to Europe for their gap year? Not me. I stayed in Australia.
You probably stayed in your same state for the most of it.
Yeah, stayed in my bedroom.
What's it like juggling trying to be an athlete and wanting to do uni at the same time, especially engineering, because that's not an easy course?
Yeah, well, honestly, I'll let you know in a while, because like, I've only just started. I am doing part-time workload, so I'm doing 2 out of 4 courses, which is like completely manageable. It's just a little bit chaotic for the first few weeks, because like, I didn't know what a unit or a course was until like I just started. So I'm still picking up so much stuff. But yeah, between, working, uni, it's a lot going on. And I'll be going over to Europe this year studying while I'm doing that. So the part-time uni was a strategic decision. And as of right now, I'm taking every single one of my courses online. So I'm in Canberra. I'll rock up at the uni whenever I want, but I have the facilities to be online fully. So that's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really, really hard. I've been told by everybody that knows what they're doing that it's going to be hard, but I'm in for it. I'm young. I can afford to make these mistakes, and I'm willing to give it a crack.
Yeah, I mean, it's only uni. Can't be that hard, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just engineering, right?
Yeah. All those guys do is drink for like 90% of their course anyway.
Yeah, not me.
You're doing the work.
Yeah.
When are you heading to Europe? What's the plan there?
Plans going to be going over around May. That way I can get myself kind of Europeified before the first round, because I've never done a big time zone leap like that, so it could be a bit brutal. But then early June's first race, Tweed Valley. So that's going to be awesome. I'm just super keen to like we talk about the whole progression of where things have come from, and EWS 2 years ago was like not even on my radar. Like I was thinking about how sick it is that Sam Hill's winning his third title. But I never actually thought that I'd be doing it. Like, I don't know, there was just some sort of disconnect in my mind that wasn't me. But then I started, hanging around with some people that knew what they were doing, like, Josh and Tim and people that, have raced to that level, and getting their sort of kudos and having them sort of like, even if it didn't actually, have any sort of tangible value to it, just the knowing that they believed in me and knowing that people thought that I was capable of that really sort of unlocked something in my mind. So it's a massive thanks to people like that, and also parents and everyone for thinking it was a good idea. So it's my first year. I'm gonna do the full season, all 8 rounds. It's going to be mental. It's going to be insane. I'm going to come back with $0 to my name. But like there's a ceiling to how I can progress my career, and it's going to get broken through when you leave Australia. So I need to make that investment, prove that I'm willing to make that sort of investment in myself to race, to basically get it back in, hopefully, have a sort of gig next year. And also it's going to be like, even if I come dead last at every race, it's going to be an awesome experience. So I just cannot wait.
Oh, man, you're going to not only grow in riding, but like personality and like personally and everything around that. It's just going to be epic. Like once you go to Europe, you just learn so much.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a baptism by fire. Like it's, what is it, Tweed Valley, Pets and Valdi, and what is it?
Yeah.
So you got 2 weeks between the first 2 rounds and then the week after.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be deadly. Like the original plan was to race before they canned it like 7 months out, was going to be Derby, Maydena, and then New Zealand. And I was so keen for that, because like that, the first like hatching the seed of racing EWS, that seems so close to home. So I was like, of course I'm going to go to that. Then they canned it so far out. They probably, like in hindsight, they could have held it, but they jumped the gun a little bit. But then after that, I was like, I want to do it for real now. Like I was so keen on doing those rounds. So I went, you know what? No, I'm gonna do the whole thing. I'm going over to Europe. And I thought that this was kind of the year to do it. It's my last year under 21. So if there was a year to, put it all in one color, give it a crack, thought this would be the go.
So you're going to do the US rounds as well? That's going to be sick.
So I'm going to go to, I'm going to Canada for Whistler. Oh, I've been to Whistler before, but I was too young to appreciate it. I'm actually dual citizen. So mum's Canadian, dad's Australian. So we have family over there. So I'm going to be, hanging out with my family while I'm over in North America. So North America is going to be the easy part because I'll have help while I'm there. Europe, however, that's going to be rough. We're gonna try and learn a lot while I'm doing that.
Are you just doing it solo, or are you going with people? Or?
Plans are still being formed. I've got plan A's, B's, and C's and stuff, but none of them are concrete yet. But I do know that however it happens, I'll make it work. So that's kind of confidence inspiring.
I think the best thing is just not to plan at the moment, hey, and just go with whatever happens.
that terrifies me. I can't handle that. I'm like,
you don't want to be in my life then.
No, like some people pull that off. I learn to do that. I need to learn to kind of let it go a little bit because I struggle a little bit at the idea of just not knowing where I'm going to be. But I mean, look, maybe just letting it go might be the best way to, because I mean, like when you're doing new stuff, you meet new people, you make new experiences and stuff. Like last few races I've been to, like I wasn't going to go to Enduro Nationals until like 3 days before. Like I was in the Fox 10 at Cannonball. I'd done some races. I'd done the All Mountain. I'd done the flow and the pump track. And Lockie and Nigel were like, are you going to Nationals? And I was like, oh, let's see. And they were like, no, you're going to Nationals. And they made it happen. So like it's like kind of letting it go and just seeing how things happen. And like I couldn't be more thankful. Like it was just the most perfect experience. I like between Cannonball and Nationals is kind of when I properly met you, when I properly met, the SRAM team, the SRAM family, and so many people. It was just a name and a face, and now it's like a person that I actually know. Like you don't really realize how many people you've actually like met and become friends with until you come back after Maydena and stuff like that. So it was, I got a bit of work to do and letting it go.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to that whole Instagram thing. Is like for me, like you speak to so many people on Insta, and then to meet them in person means so much. It's so much better. It makes such a difference. Yeah. Especially at that event, like Cannonball, man, like it's just saying hi to everyone all day. It's sick. It's such a big event.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And like meeting all of the like 50% familiar people, like you know them, but you're like, I think I know you. And then once you get to know them, it's just like, it just ticks a new box, creates a new mental pathway. Like you've got this new person. The amount of people that I owe flow laps at Threadbow, just incredible. Because like all of these people that I sort of knew, and also like meeting you was really interesting because I had seen you around. Like I completely recognized you. I had heard your voice on a podcast, but when I saw it, I just couldn't put the two together. And then I heard you talk, I'm like, oh my God, it's you. No way. That was crazy. And you came over and showed me a photo from All Mountain. I'm like, no way, it's him. It's actually him. That was sick.
It happens, man. The voice is weird. Like people will turn around in the shuttle thing and be like, oh, I know that from something. It's such a weird experience for me.
That's sick.
It's just people have wasted their life listening to me. Let's talk
Definitely not a waste.
Let's talk about Cannonball though, because I guess you've been on my radar a little bit. Like I've seen your videos, I've seen you popping up on Insta. I was there when you were second at Nationals, and I remembered the name. But it seems like this year, especially like at Cannonball, you just flipped the switch and went hard, and everything kind of lined up. And then Nationals again, like you were pump track and then the nationals race as well. Like you just flip the switch and everything seems to be going well again. Well.
It's Cannonball was mental. So I starters, I did not expect to do that well. Like I was not planning on having that sort of result lineup at Cannonball. Like I did like I got COVID at the start of the year. So I had COVID and it really knocked me around for quite a while. I reckon probably like a good 2 or 3 weeks. And that put me right up until like February having not really ridden. So I spent like a good few weeks of like actually properly resting and recovering, and then did a little bit of bike time and got into Cannonball. So I was going into Cannonball. I think it was kind of the perfect storm of being well rested, but also having zero pressure on myself. Because I went into that, you know, it is what it is, right? I've had COVID. I'm not expecting to do everything perfectly. And I knew I was riding fairly quickly. I was loving that all mountain track. I'm so glad that's the first event because that track is my absolute jam. And I going into the race with this sort of like awesome clarity. And the night before I was talking to my coach and he's like, what's your goal? What do you want to do? And I was like, look, I don't want to put all much pressure on myself. And he's like, no, what do you think you can do? And I was like, I think I can win it. Like I actually said the words, and part of me was like, I believed it. And another part of me was like, nah, no way. And then in the race run, it was kind of nothing too special. Like I didn't feel like I was going insane. I just felt like I was going smooth, just riding my bike and staying on top of things. And then I got down the bottom and I heard that I'd jumped into first. And especially like the names that had come down before me, like, you know, they're the best, some of the best riders in the world. So that was just the most ridiculous feeling ever. Yeah, it was pretty surreal. I loved it.
That track was brutal. And yeah, I'm so stoked I didn't race that. Like I would have thrown up a lung then. Like that was a hard track. It was fun, such a good fun track, but to race it is a whole different ball game. Yeah,
no, I love a pedal fest. Anyone that knows me knows I love a pedal fest. I went for a ride with Tim today, and did some pretty disgraceful sprints, and he was shaking his head at me. But no, I love the pedally stages. If a track has pumps and pedals, I love it. And I mean, you've ridden the old mountain track, that's all it is, pumps and pedals. So I can see where it came from.
But then you go and take out because you won pump track.
Yeah. Well, I mean, pump track, especially like racing with Luke, there's a really cool history with Luke. Like Luke and I have been racing. So I did my XC thing and then I came to BMX, and Luke and I started BMX at the exact same time. So we raced BMX for the exact same period of time and then transitioned to mountain biking. So it's kind of a cool, you know, what do you call it? Like an experiment with two people. And his prior experience before that was moto. So he went moto, BMX, gravity. I went XC, BMX, gravity. And you can kind of see where things have gone. Like I love a pedal fest, and he's just an absolute god at hanging off the back of it. So
he just doesn't care how fast he's going into the biggest things.
Oh, just mental. No, he's unreal rider. And he started to get bloody fit too. So he's a bit of a dangerous person at the moment. But yeah, pump tracks, I like pump track. I love pump track, like, because I mean, I did BMX for 5-6 years. So I do have quite a bit of skill with that. And I think that the pump track discipline is so well suited to me. And I just love it gives me a little taste of BMX again, because BMX, like, it's all kind of all this focused energy, really short run. Everyone's close, everyone's noisy. And I just love it. Again, it was the kind of event where I went into it knowing that I had, you know, the potential to put in a good time. but also not having that sort of pressure on myself because, I qualified fourth for the event. I didn't have a ridiculously fast qualifying run. And I just, put it all down and almost axed in both of the corners. It was so on the edge.
Yeah.
That was another. And I should bring up that I got my first ever novelty check. I've been wanting to get a novelty check for so long. And that was the biggest thing, was getting a novelty check and sending a picture of it to Dad, because that's been a bit of a goal.
Yeah, did you know Tim Eaton has one as well for whip off? Just in case he hasn't pulled it out and shown you like 100 times.
I've been hanging out with Tim for a bit, and he showed me his like bike den down under his house. Oh, his novelty check stash is something else. It's phenomenal. And he's in his metal cave. Oh man, he's got some serious achievements this way.
Would expect nothing less.
No.
Nationals pump track. I have a question here because you're the only one that I know that competed in it. What are your thoughts on having a BMX and the mountain bike on the same course?
Go for it. It's in the rules. You can do it. So there's two different varieties of pump track, and I think this is a kind of common misconception because people shake their fist at a BMX or on a pump track and they go, no, it's a mountain bike national championships. But there's two different varieties. You've got Red Bull, which is the actual UCI event where you get a rainbow jersey. In that event, the rules are you can ride any bike. I'm pretty sure any bike, but like for the sake of the argument, any bike. You can pedal, so you have a chain, but you have to ride flats. So there are your criteria for Red Bull. And then there's Crankworx pump track, which is you have to ride a mountain bike, no chain, and you can have whatever pedals you want. So people get this vision that like Crankworx pump track, chain off, dirt jumper, Adrian Leron and Thomas Slavic going at it on a pump track in Innsbruck kind of thing. But the event at Maydena Nationals, it's a UCI event. So you're racing the Red Bull format. So 20 inches allowed. Honestly, like a 20-inch, like Ollie's really good mate of mine. Ollie and Jace. Jace was a couple of age groups above. For people wondering, Jace came first, Ollie came second, I came third at Pump Track Nationals. So I've been racing Ollie since I was 10. Jace was a couple of age groups older, so I've only started to get to know him recently. But Ollie was on a 20-inch and just phenomenal riders. And like I couldn't be happier, racing against them and getting beaten by them because, they're some of the best riders. Like Ollie is junior world 2. So he's seriously good rider. And to, I guess, loop back to your question, don't care. That's in the rule book. Go for it. If you got a BMX bike and you can go faster than me on it, all good.
I thought it was pretty funny because a friend of mine came fourth, Oscar Johnston, and we were chatting just before the race. I think he was in your category. It might have been under 19s, but he was stressing. He's like, who am I up against? So I'm like, well, you're either up against a national level BMXer or you're up against an EWS champion. So you've got good chance here. And he's just this privateer, uni student on like a flogged dirt jumper he got the week before or something. And he pulled out a fourth. And I think like pump track's cool for that because it doesn't really matter what you're riding and what your level is.
Exactly. I think the Maydena pump track's a pretty good equalizer as well because racing that pump track at full speed is terrifying because like you can go so unbelievably fast on that track. But this year they kind of threw a spanner in the works with like the double loop. If you weren't there, Maydena pump track, the main kind of lap is just like a whole bunch of rollers and 2 berms, but there's a switch in the middle, which is like 2 berms. And they made us race the outside loop and then do the short loop on the inside. So do a full 360 and then finish the rest of the loop. So I reckon if it was just the full outside loop, we would not have stood a chance against the BMX bikes because they just get so much efficiency out of their setup. But because there was a corner in there, the mountain bike riders were able to, get a little bit more of a advantage back because cornering on a BMX bike is even more terrifying because it's 20 inches. Like it's so easy to tuck your front.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's a good point. Speaking of the outside and inside loop, were you surprised to see who was top qualifier on the day before? The Jack Tibby just come out of nowhere and
and he beat me by like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
That was mental. Yeah.
It's funny because he missed that second loop.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was pretty sure something had happened there, and it was really funny because I posted on my Instagram P1 quali because I mean, it was a little bit rude that I assumed that I had heard wind that he had missed a lap, so I was like, oh, okay, it's a mistake. But the timing, it stayed up, and then a whole bunch of the comments were like, "What do you mean, Jack Tibby came first?" So I went and had a chat with the guy just to make sure I wasn't, stepping on toes or anything. And he's such a cool dude. He's an absolute mad dog.
Oh, it was so funny. He's like, "I'm pulling out of everything. This is the highlight of my week. I don't need to do anything else. I've qualified first in pump track."
I don't know. Did they change the results or anything, or did that stand?
I think it just stayed there.
Lovely. That's so good.
So he was stoked. It was great. He's a good lad. He's funny. Shout out to Jack Tibby. So yeah, I guess like as I said, your plans are for Europe. Is there anything else big on the cards, or is that your main focus for now?
Oh, can't really get much bigger than EWS, right? Like, yeah. So all 8 rounds. It's going to be tough. I'm keen for it. Other big events on the horizon. Sea Otter Canberra when we come back. That's going to be sick. I don't know if this is. I think it's public knowledge now. Crankworks Cairns.
I don't know. I have to find out because I'm sick of talking about it as if it's not public knowledge, but everyone knows. So, yeah.
Well, if it's not, then it's not very private anymore. But if there is a, so Sea Otter, and then perhaps a big festival style event towards the end of 2022. So, big plans.
After your Crankworks wins, do you kind of want to ever focus on like the Crankworks King of type series, like the King of Crankworks?
Well, like after Cannonball?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's crossed my mind before, but I think speed and style immediately removes me from it. I got a little bit of speed, but not a whole lot of style. Like I can't take hands off and stuff. So if I was to even consider contention, then I'd really have to ramp my game up in that regard. But I want to race a Crankworks so bad. Like I've been watching, Crankworks Joyride slope style for like so long back. Like I grew up on like Darren Bearcloth and Randy Spangler, and like the collective movies and stuff. So those boys started doing Crankworks. That I started watching that, and I've wanted to race a Crankworks ever since. And then when I saw that like Crankworks became more than just a slope style event, and they introduced a dual slalom and a pump track, like a dual slalom would just be the sickest thing ever. It'd be so good.
We need more dual slalom.
Bring back dual slalom. Yeah.
Actually, we'll start wrapping things up in a minute, but that Jack Tibby kid organises dual slalom races here. It's called the Slappage Series. And
that sounds sick. Oh, have I seen videos of Sam Walsh racing in dual slaloms in the bush?
Yeah. That's an old tip. It's an old garbage dump on the side of the hill. Yeah. So it's like full of microwaves and old couches, and you're just like pinned down there, and it's just dusty, but it's just a bunch of kids. Like your first enduro race. You can take it all the way back to the start. It's 2 guys, phones, timing. Like it's nothing special, and it works. It's sick. You have to come down and race one.
Yeah,
it's the best.
I need to come to embrace the Adelaide riding scene. You're from Adelaide, right?
Yeah.
That's, I assume so. Yeah, because it's like with Fox Creek and everything. I've only been once, show up for a race and head out, and I've just heard about the most incredible riding scene there. Like beyond, of course, Fox Creek's one of the best facilities in Australia, but also I've heard murmurings of sort of less known networks and secret happenings by incredible builders and stuff. So I think
good stuff.
Kind of exactly. Yeah. No, like if if you want to ride in Coffs, you're gonna struggle without a guide.
It's kind of the same here in some aspects. Fox is sick and all the legal stuff is sick, but the good stuff for the fast guys is all guided only.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty awesome looking stuff on Connor's Instagram.
Yeah, but he makes everything look sick. Like, it's ridiculous.
That's a good point. Oh, the first video he posted on his new bike, there's one corner on it, that left hander where he like comes up and I've never seen someone rip a corner that hard. My goodness. The
thing is, like, you don't see how bad that track is, like how worn out
really.
And how small, like, and how tight. And it's actually kind of steepish. And there's just everything that turns you off wanting to do that corner. And he just makes it look so good. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Don't worry. I think that he's a ridiculous rider. And also like tracks like that, especially like underground networks and stuff. I think that's a whole nother podcast about like, underground networks and stuff. Because I know that in Coffs, like we've got some seriously good stuff going on with like government grants and tracks being built. But I think the serious lifeblood of mountain biking locally are people that are building tracks. And, I was fortunate enough to be around like a lot of good people in the scene. So some of the local legends that build just ridiculously good tracks, like some of the best tracks I've ever ridden have just been, scratched in on a ridge line somewhere. So yeah, if you're a predominant builder in Coffs Harbour and you're listening, I really do appreciate you.
Sweet. Well, we'll start wrapping things up. I've kind of got 3 questions, as you probably know.
I do.
What's your advice to, I guess, young kids that want to make it in mountain biking, whether it's media or racing?
Well, I mean, I've heard this one said a lot, that don't worry about training and putting too much pressure on yourself until you're in juniors. But I think also to do with media, since it's been a pretty big topic of this conversation, is that if you have anything at all that you can leverage to make yourself unique, even if it's the wackiest, craziest thing, you can, if you work hard on it, you really focus on it, and you can really pitch that to the right people at the right time, it can change the way that you interact with the bike industry. So if you're doing something that you're like right now and you're not 100% sure whether you think it's got potential, if you really truly believe in it, keep on going with it, keep on doing what you love, and add that to your resume, because a lot of people will see value in it if you see value in it yourself and if you're willing to put in the time.
100% agree. That's sick. I rate that. Is there anything you would have done differently up until now?
Absolutely not. Not a single thing. The whole story of going from XC, and even before that, like my first riding experiences, like riding to school every day. Like I rode to school every single day from kindergarten to year 12.
Wow.
And I guess just that sort of transition from just riding bikes as sort of like a way of life, like riding a bike was like walking to me. So making that transition, being told that, look, come back when you're 16, getting kicked in the guts, I'm stoked that guy told me that. He didn't actually tell me that. He said the words and I heard them. But yeah, and then going to BMX, like honestly, it's just been the perfect setup. So I think that no changes would be made.
And the hardest and the most difficult, what do you listen to get motivated, like if you're feeling down and can't do anything?
I listen to the Beyond the Tape podcast. I also I've recently started a little pump up song. I cannot play much of this song. I'll just pull it up right now and play like the first like 3 words of it. Okay, let's see if you can hear this. Like, if you know this song, you're gonna know what's going on here.
We're gonna skate to one song only.
You know that song?
Yeah.
That one gives me goosebumps every time. I was listening to that. Like, I'd never actually had a pump up song, so I was in the chair, and I actually wasn't a chair. I was on the gondola up to the top of All Mountain. I was like, this is the song. I chucked it on, and it was just like, full goosebumps and visualizations and positive everything. So that's my really special song. I only save that for special occasions. I reckon I'll only use it 8 times this year. So I reckon that's my one song.
That's sick. It's funny. I haven't mentioned this, but for every workout and for every training I did for getting to nationals, I had the same song play before every single session, just as like an experiment. And then before every single practice and before every single run at nationals, I listened to that same song.
Yep.
And it's crazy how much it just focuses your mind into, okay, shit's going to happen now. It's like Pavlov's dogs.
Yeah.
Like, it's that bell and you're ready to eat. Like, it's such a smart thing to do. So
yeah,
I think that's cool.
Like, I mean, I like that. It's like, especially saving it for special occasions. Is that like when you really hear that song, you know, this is the time. I listen to that song and I still like, I get kind of, it's kind of a bit of a rough song to get chills to, but like, it's not like the most euphoric song ever. It's pretty brutal. But it's that kind of visualization, positive reinforcement. And yeah, it's really interesting that you do it and did that experiment like before every gym session. I guess it's kind of like a sort of mental click. Like, you don't actually have to think it just does it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you see, I reckon the rider who does the most mental preparation before their races is Finn Isles. I don't know the specifics of his routine, but you look at what he's doing before his race run, he's doing something serious in his head. And I think that having something like that, even if it doesn't actually improve you, just having that sort of feeling in your mind that you've done something, you've prepared something, and you've got a plan is, I reckon, beneficial in and of itself.
And everyone's different, right? Like, from what I've heard, Kate Edwards just goes and does like baris and does stupid stuff, like 180, like half cabs, and it's just his way of going, yeah, it's time to ride my bike and have fun. And everyone's different. So it's definitely an important part of racing.
For sure.
Easy, man. Well, thanks so much. It's been a sick episode. It's been a pleasure to hear you speak. You're very eloquent. It's very good.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been absolute pleasure and an honor, and can't wait to see you at more races in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe some international ones. Maybe some big festival thing that's happening at the end of the year. Who knows? Yeah,
maybe something like that. I don't know.
Easy, man. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, and we'll speak soon.
Awesome. Catch ya.
Easy, man.
Sweet.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the episode. I hope you gained a lot from that conversation. I know I did. Ryan is one of the most eloquent and well-spoken humans I've ever had the pleasure of talking to. As you can tell by that stumble, I am not that great of a talker, even though I host this damn thing. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks to all our supporters, Trek Bikes, Taylor Trails, FE Sports, NS Dynamics, Franked Mountain Bike Apparel, Dirt Surfer, Crush Oz, and Fist. Love you guys. Love you for helping support this podcast. And listeners, go and grab some stuff from them. Use the code Beyond the Tape and you'll get a sweet discount at most of those checkouts. If you also want to support the podcast yourself, make sure you share it with your mum, your dad, your dog, your chicken, whoever, neighbor, please. Anyone. Until next time, have fun. We'll speak soon.